Hey guys, Sadie here. If you watched my 2 previous videos, you probably know that I had an epic trip to Peru in the last few months, and it has been life-changing. So not only did I experience 3 epic ayahuasca nights, but I also got to learn a lot about the Andean culture, traditions, and especially the mysticism side and the spiritual side, and it has definitely expanded my consciousness. So this is what this video is about. And I'm gonna tell you my favorite things that I've learned from the Andean way of looking at spirituality, at the universe. So if you haven't watched the other 2 videos, be sure to check them out, and please like and subscribe this video so that I can grow on this channel and continue on this spiritual journey with you. So the first thing I want to point out is the Andean way is a very non-dualistic way. Later in the video, I'll talk about the concept of love, but in the Andean traditions, this is all from my experience learning from the shamans and the masters that I've had the pleasure to work with during my trip. They encourage you to transcend above the dualistic way of thinking. I mean, all of us are humans and we are in this dualistic natured world and reality, but we can, as humans, we can transcend the good, bad, good guy, enemy kind of way of looking at life, and that allows us to be making decisions from a wiser place, a soul-led place, and brings more harmony and peace into our lives and into the world. Because a lot of the times, not just in the Western world, you see that people are actually constantly fighting these dualistic battles, whether it's politics. You know, it starts from something as silly as sports, but then it goes into politics, it goes into family relationships, it goes to even spiritual concepts, and people have this dualistic way of thinking, no, this is right and this is wrong, or I am right or you're wrong, or even vice versa, getting shame and guilt because they are wrong and other people are right. But the truth of this world is that there is no set right and wrong. There is right and wrong for you, and that goes back to your intentions, whether you are making your decisions and taking your actions from a soul-led place, from a heart-centered place, or it is an egotistical, or it's a bad intention and you knowingly are actually taking those steps against your own soul. So I thought that it's very important to encourage and advertise this way of thinking about life, especially when you experience a plant medicine as strong as ayahuasca. You really understand the gist of it, that you cannot just let yourself be lost in that dualistic way of thinking, because then the world will be a scary place. And in experiencing that medicine and the transformation through it, you can see that once you let go of this idea that there is evil and there is good and there's like one way to be good, and once you let go of that and basically transcend the duality, you are at peace. You are no longer afraid. You find yourself one with everything, and you accept that everything that exists in this planet, everything that has been given a physical manifestation in this life, is valuable to God because it was made by God. So this is what I loved about the Andeans, and you can see this in their hospitality, in the way that they treat you, in the way that they encourage you to not be afraid of anything. Go and lead with love. Open your heart to the world and send love to everyone, including the ones who are doing harm and including the ones who are being harmed. Which leads me to my next point, which is the concept of love, or as they call it, munai. Munai is such an important concept in the Andean tradition, and you hear this a lot. They even have this very long munai meditation that they do, which cleanses you in and out in order to put you in a love frequency. And this is what I really love about the Andean masters. It's not something that I've seen often in other cultures and other places around the world. They encourage you to love everybody. The unconditional love that they teach is a love that includes all the people, regardless of whether they are criminals, they are victims, or the offenders. They include everyone in this unconditional love because they believe that that is what cleanses the society eventually, and there is no point in fighting fire with fire. You have this amazing weapon inside your heart which will protect you against everything, and it will defeat any ill intentions against you, which is your heart and your love. And once you start to use this, superpower that has been granted to human beings and other creatures in this world, then you feel protected, you feel safe, and therefore your actions come from a safe place. You're no longer desperate, you're no longer trying to prove yourself, you're no longer trying to take something from someone else. For example, in this Moon Eye meditation, at some point you're imagining the people that have hurt you and you're sending them love. And you're imagining the people that you hurt and you send them love. And love is like this magical potion that you can just splash everywhere and clear the canvas for yourself. And this brings so much inclusivity, and it brings us to a point of looking for solutions and understanding people's pain. Whatever they're doing, it's coming from a place of pain or hurt or trauma, and it just is such an inclusive way of looking at life. Now, the next thing I really like about the Andean culture is the way that they respect nature and they live in harmony with nature. This is so evident in their day-to-day lives. I don't know if this was just because they've had such rough climates, rough adventures in nature that they have inevitably learned to respect it, or it's just one of their values that they've passed on from generations to generations. But they really respect everything. And generally in mysticism, we believe that everything is breathing, everything is alive and has a life of its own, and therefore you can talk to it, you can send your good energy to it, or you can get answers from the trees, from the leaves, from the sea, from the ocean. And this is such a lost concept in Western society because we think that we can treat like a stick however we want, right? Or we don't really have respect for things. Once you start to shift your perspective and look at everything as something that communicates with you, and all of this universe is like this woven web of consciousness, and everything is talking to you, and everything can be your teacher and can guide you, then you're gonna like find yourself in some really mysterious world where things can conspire and make things happen for you. And that's where the magic of mysticism starts, which could be a whole other video for another time. But for example, they have these coca leaves, which is very known for Peru, right? And with these coca leaves, you can eat them, you can brew them, you can chew on them, but you can also do readings with them. And there's like rituals where you talk to these coca leaves and you tell them your intentions, and you offer them, for example, to Pachamama, Mother Earth. And therefore they have so many rituals that they do in regards to nature. Like they have sunrise rituals, water cleansing rituals, and they encouraged us at the time that I was staying there to wake up early to be able to catch the first rays of the sunrise, because that's when you get the most benefits from looking directly at the sun, and apparently it doesn't even hurt your eyes at that time. So just knowing all of this and starting to incorporate these rituals, even as I tell you, if you try to have more connection with the sun, with the trees, with the earth, it really helps us restore balance in ourselves, especially if you're living in a crowded city like I am and you feel so disconnected from nature, which is just an inseparable part of you. We are nature, and when we find ourselves living in these concrete jungles with like very weird schedules and chores that we have assigned to ourselves, things can get unbearable very quickly. So just incorporating nature and time alone in nature, time to meditate in nature and to talk to these things, even if people think it's weird, like do it for yourself. And I'm sure that the world is opening their eyes to the power of the natural elements, and that no matter what, we depend on them. And in fact, we all depend on each other. And this is the beauty of the harmony that I'm talking about. Like, we need to respect one another because we need one another. And we're all here as little organisms. Like, none of us are the center of the universe. We're all small organisms of this huge ecosystem that we call the universe. And this harmony with nature is also evident in the cities that I went to in Peru. For example, in Cusco, you can see that there's no skyscrapers. Houses are made in the most natural way. Like, there's like clay walls. The streets are stoned. You don't find a lot of pavement there. And yeah, at first I had my carry-on and I was like, oh, why is this not paved? And then after a few days, I found myself in such a peaceful state that I really wanted to just stay there. And I was rethinking my choices of like, do I really want to live in one of the most modern cities of the world where there's a lot of jobs, this and that, but there's no connection to nature and there's no quiet and there's no peace? Or do I want to go somewhere where I can actually like connect back with my roots and my soul and what really sets me alive? I really think that a lot of us have got our priorities backwards. I also love that the people that I saw in Peru, they have kept their traditions alive. You can clearly see this in the way that they dress. Like, you cannot find a lot of clothes to buy there for yourself. It's mostly traditional clothing, and the colors that these people wear are so refreshing. They are so bright and beautiful. And in contrast with the earthy colors of the nature around them, these people really stand out. Another one of the beautiful concepts that I learned from the Andeans is their view on God. And this was very heartwarming for me, and I'll explain why. So, in the Quechua tradition and viewpoint on spirituality and mysticism, they view God as having a masculine and feminine side. So the feminine side, which they call Pachamama, is the physical manifestation, is the generosity of this earth, holding us, literally giving birth to us and feeding us every day, which is beautiful. And the masculine side of God is the Holy Father, is the light, which they call the white light, which is protective, which is basically the source. You know, the beautiful thing that I experienced, especially after my ayahuasca ceremony, was that we all have a mother and father, which is our divine mother and father. And therefore, whether you are an orphan in reality, whether you have been abandoned by your parents, whether you don't know who your parents are, or you don't even have a healthy relationship with them, they don't really love you the way that you craved as a child, you should know that you have this divine mother and father who are always constantly watching over you. They are there to answer your prayers. They're there to protect you. And if you look at it honestly, they're actually the ones who have been protecting you all along, because a lot of the times we've been neglected by our parents. And this is true for basically everyone, unless you were like super lucky in this life. So knowing that, it just gives you that warmth that you have this loving, protective father who is always there to answer your prayers, to be of your help whenever you call him. And you can use prayer to ask for help from your Holy Father and your Holy Mother. And depending on the mood that you're in, or what kind of help you want, is it that you want something to be done in a perfect way? Then that sounds more of a masculine way of thinking. Or do you want some miracle to happen and things to miraculously change for you, just like how mothers do, right? So this was a beautiful way of balancing and getting more connected to the divine power, because I feel like that divinity and like the divine source is so powerful and is so inclusive of everything that we have a hard time grasping it, and that's why when a lot of people with our limited human minds, we try to press this whole force and power into words and concepts, people reject it and they're like, no, that sounds like a myth. But when we find different ways of explaining it and you choose the one that actually works for you and the one that you really connect with, I feel like doors open to a more magical way of living, because we truly are divine magical creatures, and we just have forgotten about this. We're now in these processes of awakening. We're just remembering who we were and what we're capable of, and remembering that our hearts are the most powerful things that we own in this life, and the only thing that we can take from this life to the next is our unconditional love. Another one of the Andean concepts that I really adore is Aini, which means reciprocity. So actually when they meditate, they actually encourage you to show the symbols of Aini, which is you are going to reverse your hands so that the left palm is facing up and your right palm is facing down, so that basically you are giving with one hand and receiving with the other, which is such a beautiful concept, right? So they encourage you to give as much as you take from the community, from the society, and from the universe. Okay, one other thing, which is like the best blessing that I've gotten from the Andean tradition, is their connection with the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. And through the teachings of the shamans, as well as a couple of books that I just picked up on my own and deepened my knowledge on the Andean spirituality, I learned that they pray to all of these four elements and they try to revive their connection with each one of these elements, because each one complements a different aspect of us. For example, fire's energy is obviously something of transformation. It's like boom, boom, it's fast and it cleanses. And then there's water, which is quiet. Water washes away, and water is a way of floating around and finding your way regardless of the circumstances. There's the element of air, which is knowledge. Air goes everywhere. Air has been everywhere. The wind has been everywhere. And you start to realize that you can actually talk to the wind. You can connect with it. You can ask it to give you knowledge, to tell you what you need to know. And there's obviously the beautiful earth that we can connect to, that we can ground ourselves in, and we can give all of our frustrations away, because literally, if you remember in science class, we give all the extra electrons back to the earth because it is grounding. It is so big and generous that it literally grounds you. So you give away your frustrations to Mother Earth, and then it turns it into fertile soil, which then gives back to us food, plants, fruits, and that's just how generous this universe is. So here are a few prayers that I recommend that you try on your own. And every time that you feel out of balance, every time that you feel down, you look and check in with these four elements to see which one is out of balance, which one's help you need. Basically, you go and talk to that element. So what I like to do is, once a week, if I can do more, the better. I come to the park, I come in nature, and I check in with myself. Do I want to ground? Do I want to go sit by the river? Do I want to make a fire? Or do I just want to sit in the wind and connect with the wind? And maybe I want to do all four of those. So you're going to connect with yourself, because we are also made of these four elements, and you'll find easier ways to just come back to your peace and be functional, be a functional human being, and live a happy life, because that's what you deserve. That's really what you deserve. You just haven't been taught this ancient wisdom that our ancestors have known for such a long time, and in today's world we totally disregard the 4 elements. So try this on your own and see how it works for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I was so excited about this concept. I hope that you got something for yourself out of this and it helped to open and expand your consciousness in whatever way. Please share your experiences, or let me know if you had any kind of connection with any of the concepts that I said in this video in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video. You guys know I'm on this like really weird spiritual journey. I used to post all about my music on this channel, but then I was like, there is a lot more to this life than me pretending to be this persona and trying to like batch produce content for my audience. I want to share the truth of my soul, and I know that my soul wants to see the world. It wants to learn all the wisdom around the world. This was my trip to Peru. I know it's not going to be the last one, so I have a lot more places to visit, a lot more masters to talk to, and I just want to go around the world and bring these gifts in the form of these YouTube videos and help the conscious community have a safe place to talk about the things that really matter to us. So I really appreciate you watching until the end, and until next time.